Network present
Touchdown Cowboys!
Dallas Cowboys football 2024 in crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, and just like that, we're 3 hours to a Cowboy kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. Another football Sunday here on your home of the Cowboys. Cowboys in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Looking to get back to 500 today. Broaddus, the Super Bowl champion himself, in the building once again, ready to give all the fantastic analysis. And I'll tell you what, just when you thought, all right, this is a season that could start to slip away from you, you have a chance here with the Falcons to kind of swing this, a pivotal swing game, and Dak's calling it a must win. And then you have the Zeke news that comes out from over the weekend. They keep things interesting, Broaddus.
Yeah, they really, really do. And good morning to everybody out there that's joining us today. Nice to be with you. And how about this, 9 a.m.? We don't have many of these noon games, right?
Rare noon kick, man.
Got a noon kick, so here we go. But you're absolutely right about that. The news was Ezekiel Elliott, coming down actually, yesterday of him being inactive. I think that Jane Slater from the NFL Network has got this thing completely wired with stuff that I've been told this morning about Ezekiel Elliott and the situation with the Cowboys. She has a very, very good handle on what's happening with this, with Zeke being a healthy scratch for this football game. Nothing to do with injury, but there's some things that he's dealing with right now, and the club's dealing with, and so it's keeping his attention from playing football, and so we'll see how this progresses as in the coming days as well.
Yes, if you missed it yesterday, news broke before the Cowboys took off to Atlanta that Zeke was not going to be traveling with the team, was going to be inactive, and then the reports followed up quickly there with the fact that it is some disciplinary reasons, and that's why he was left behind. And it's apparently had been building for a while. Guys like Clarence Hill were found, they were dumbfounded yesterday with some of the news that was coming out. Calvin Watkins tweeting out, it might be time to let Zeke go. The whole thing has been a mess from the moment he returned. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It's been a mess since the moment he returned. I mean, all right, I didn't know it was necessarily a mess. I know we're all clamoring for more Rico touches and less Zeke, and really have been since the moment they re-signed him in the offseason, but has it really been a mess? And then you see Jane Slater's tweet from earlier this morning, Zeke being a healthy scratch today, first of his career, according to a number of sources. This is Jane Slater earlier this morning tweeting this out. According to a number of sources, Elliott has been distracted this season. Aside from habitual tardiness, he's missed 3 team meetings, with Friday's meeting being the final straw. Both parties decided it was best he didn't make the trip to Atlanta, and now it'll be Dalvin Cook and Rico Dowdle expected to carry the load this afternoon. And, of course, Dalvin Cook is going to be today's player profile with the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold coming up here in a few minutes. And we're locked and loaded here on the pregame show as always. But this Zeke stuff is just wild, Broaddus.
Yeah, it's this is the things behind the scenes, and I answered a tweet this morning that, that my 2 cents was I didn't think he took the news very well at all. That's the impression that I got initially, that, he was not happy about being inactive. And then, Jane Slater, like I said, she's done a really, really nice job. A couple different fronts. She covers this team well. She knows she's got sources. And then all of a sudden you start to hear about the missing of practices, the tardiness. There's some other things that I'm sure that Jane probably knows about that maybe she'll get into at a later time if that's the case. But right now, this is where it is with Zeke. He's not in a really good spot right now.
Yeah.
And he's not really in a good spot with the team. And so we'll see, and in this day and age, you have to be very mindful of player mental health and things like that, the player well-being. There was a time in the, when I was when I was in player personnel in the early 2000s, and doing stuff with that, you just kind of moved on from players. You didn't, it's like, we don't have time for you. But nowadays you have to, you have to feel about the well-being. And here's a player for the Cowboys that, if you want to be honest with you, is, one of those types of players that is a big, big part of your history. I know we hadn't been in championship history or anything like that, but you look at the way that he's played for you over the years, the touchdowns, the games they've won. He's a big part of what you were doing, and you brought him back with the hope that maybe you could rekindle some of that, but it just hasn't worked out that well for him or the club. No,
for sure. And when you see a guy missing meetings and being late all the time, you can wonder, is this a guy that just doesn't really love football? But Zeke hasn't been that guy. Zeke's always been the guy that was playing through injury, the guy that wants to continue. He is one of now the few running backs that's really made a monstrous amount of money. He doesn't need to play anymore.
No.
He's like the last of a dying breed when it comes to running backs making giant contract money. And so he doesn't need to play. He's done this because he really likes to play. So seeing him miss, that does make you feel like, okay, there must be something else going on, and anybody can really understand that, where life can sideswipe you a little bit with anything, and all of a sudden you're just not your same self. And he was supposed to be brought in, part of it, for the culture, the leadership, the vibes, and that clearly has gone south real quick. So of course we'll be getting more and more on this, but it seems like Jane is absolutely all over it.
She's got this thing wired. When I started really kind of digging into some stuff this morning, I was starting to hear it, and I was like going, oh wow. And then Jane and I talked to Jane this morning. I said, listen, we kind of compared notes, and she was like, and I found myself learning that Jane had a lot more than I did.
She had more notes.
Yeah, she had a lot more notes there.
You were falling asleep in class, and she was jotting things down.
I had some things, but not to the level of what Jane Slater has. So yeah, there's going to be, we just got to look at the situation. Like I said, just kind of follow along with her. She's got this thing pretty wired, pretty tight.
All right, 877-881-1053. Just getting started here on your Cowboys pregame show, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. We got the Falcons here, Broaddus, and a lot to get to with the way this team looks, but they're favored by 3.5.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking, on a neutral field, I guess Vegas thinks that this is basically a coin flip game.
Yeah,
and Atlanta's been bad at home.
Atlanta has not done a very good job at handling business, as you mentioned, and yeah, there's been some problems with with their defense. That's where the Cowboys are going to have to win this today. Now, there's going to be some questions about Diggs playing today. They're going to.
The secondary is kind of a mash unit.
It is. This is the problem. And now, when you start to talk about dealing with London, Mooney, McLeod, the three wide receivers are going to play 11 personnel. Do you have enough cornerbacks to match up? And Diggs is going to work out, or excuse me, he's going to warm up, work out, and then they're going to go from there to see if in fact that he could play. So that's what they're looking at right now. There's a possibility that with that slight calf tear that he might be out of action today, and boy, that would put the Cowboys in some binds with having to deal with all these wide receivers and this tight end. For the Falcons.
Yeah, there's a multitude of pass catchers here. The wide receiving core here with London and Mooney in particular, that duo, they're the only duo in the sport where teammates have 500 or more receiving yards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of equal opportunity. Once you get into the red zone, Drake London is like a league leader in target share.
Right.
And he's eaten up some touchdowns here. But both of those guys, equal opportunity. They're trying to get him the football. If there is no Diggs, and he's clearly a true game-time decision, what is the contingency plan there? Because obviously Bland has not gotten
Bland's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
So your Kalen Carson is back.
Yeah.
The rookie.
Yeah.
You have Jordan Lewis. And
right.
then where you go, Andrew Booth, I guess.
Yeah, that's, and maybe you even have to think about the elevation, too, of Josh Butler has been put into play now. So
you got McQuamu as well.
Yeah, so that's where you're one of the best teams in the league defensively when it comes to like your nickel corner. Like Lewis is one of the better nickel corners when you look at targets, when you look at his ability to make tackles. You
He's probably been the best player on the team this year.
He's done a hell of a job. He really, really has. He's been your most consistent by far.
Yeah.
And do you want to take him out of that nickel stuff? I mean, because the Falcons will run their offense through that nickel wide receiver, through that slot wide receiver. You'll see London and Mooney and those guys play inside, and so that gives you an opportunity to put one of your best guys over there and cover them. But yeah, you're in a situation right now where you're looking at Carson and Andrew Booth and Butler and really Lewis as being the main guys. And will there be a switch at safety today? Will they adjust? Will all of a sudden we see more Wanye Thomas, who probably is a little bit better cover guy than Marquise Bell? It's going to be an issue today, and you're talking about a Dallas Cowboy front that hasn't generated a whole lot of pressure.
No, you're 100% right about that, and I think you got to make the switch at safety to some extent. You cannot have Donovan Wilson out there chasing around Kyle Pitts like he was for 3 quarters last week versus George Kittle. You gotta make a switch there in some way. If it's Wanye Thomas, if it's Mukwamu, who I think physically kind of matches up in terms of stature, tall, lanky guy there to go up against Pitts perhaps. But I think that has to happen with your safeties. Hooker and Wilson have been 2 of the worst safeties in the league this year. You mentioned the pass rush. I'm trying to figure out, maybe, just maybe, does Zimmer have something up his sleeve here with the familiarity he has with all those years in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins? And Kirk Cousins is as much of a statue quarterback as you'll ever see in the sport these days.
Yeah.
So can you dial up some blitzes here? Can you get after him in some way? Because he is the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde quarterback when he's kept clean. He's top 5 when he is pressured. Kirk Cousins this season is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Absolutely. And that's where you have to kind of figure some things out. And we talked about it earlier, during the week when we were doing this prep work. Do you find a way to maybe get overshown as a rusher? And maybe I call it a poor man's Micah Parsons, where you have a linebacker, but, take advantage of these Falcons. The Falcons have struggled a little bit at their offensive tackle spot. And, with Matthews out there, and they've given up some sacks, they've given up some pressures, through the season so far. And, that's where I think this thing is going to come down to. Is can you create pressures with various ways of doing it, and Overshown might be one of those guys that you see him with handle against Jake Matthews. Lindstrom, the right guard, has had some problems as well. Last week you were kind of thinking, well, maybe Oso Digizua will have a really good game against Banks. He was a liability, I felt like, for the liability for the Niners. For the Niners, and now here you are, you're in a situation where he didn't play particularly well. So a lot going on there to try and create some pressure that is going to be needed when you're talking about a team that's really, really struggling, in the secondary right now with their health.
Okay, and then you have, of course, the vaunted rushing attack there, the 2-headed monster of Bijan Robinson, former Longhorn, super beast, first rounder, top 10 pick. And he's outstanding. And then, of course, you have not only on the ground but in the passing game for Bijan. And then you have Tyler Algier,
right,
who's starting caliber himself. Now, this is a wide zone rushing attack, right? That's their bread and butter. They're trying to get to the edges.
Yeah. And
do we have a chance?
Well, last week you got Golston that played well on the edge for you.
There you go.
That's kind of your hope right there. You maybe another week of Kendricks. He didn't look as quick as he did last week or the previous week before the calf injury. He struggled a little bit with that. He's going to hopefully maybe another week of some rehab work and a little bit of rest that he could be a little bit better. But yeah, they're going to have to play now. Where the Falcons have struggled, and this is with both backs, when they face teams that have played a stacked box, which is 8 or more in the box, they've had struggles. They've averaged less than 3 yards a carry against stack box teams. Dallas is going to play stack box against you, but how effective are they going to play stack box against you?
Well, they haven't been good doing it. They've sold out to stop the run. They put all the bodies there in the box, and they still can't stop the run.
Yeah, that has been the problem. That has been the absolute problem right now, and that's the one thing. The Falcons they've averaged less than 3 yards a carry when it comes, and this is both backs. This is just not one back. It's one's at like 2.8, the other's at 2.7 when it comes to stack box play. So Dallas has got to figure out if that's something, maybe this is the one weekend it actually stack box does work for this football team.
We are live on Twitch and YouTube as always. Jim C on the YouTube just said Zimmer don't got bleep. Zimmer couldn't buy a clue with Jerry's checkbook. So the shots are getting fired all over the place.
Well, Mike, they haven't been good, and they haven't, and they've really struggled getting off blocks. They've really struggled with their tackling. They've struggled in coverage. The injuries haven't helped, but that's no excuse for Mike. Mike is. I talked about Mike. I've known Mike a long time. I consider Mike a dear friend. It hurts me to see him struggle the way they are right now. They really have not been able to kind of put anything together. These injuries have hurt their pass rush with Tank. It's also hurt it with Micah. But the tackling aspect, I was thinking he was going to be more buttoned up with his fronts
right,
and the coverages. They've still given up a lot of explosive plays. And that's something that Mike Zimmer generally throughout his history has not done.
No question. All right, let's take a look at this offense. We're just getting started here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. The 817 is asking about the Slater report on Zeke, tuning in.
It's real.
We will update you on that, and we'll hear from Dalvin Cook as well. He's the subject of today's player profiles. We continue to get you set for kickoff. Cowboys and Falcons, it's the pregame show, and we're back next year on The Fan.
Are you ready to elevate your barbecue game?
to find our products in a store near you. Win big by making the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys the official milk of your family table.
Well, look at that. 2 hours and 38 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Get your minds and bodies ready, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a noon kick. We don't get many of these, Broaddus. We don't get many noon kicks.
No,
and
we don't.
This one's in Atlanta. You did get the extra hour today with the daylight savings, which was nice. Gives you some extra time to get that menu ready to go for kickoff. Cowboys and Falcons will get you up to kickoff as quickly as possible. The trade deadline is coming up here on Tuesday. We'll go around the NFL with that before we get to Brad Sham. But right now, let's go ahead and before we hear from Dalvin Cook, who's going to get a healthy helping of the carries today alongside Rico Dowdle after the healthy scratch of Ezekiel Elliott. If you missed it, Jane Slater has the report that, of course, this is the first healthy scratch of Zeke's career. He has apparently been distracted this season. He's been tardy quite a bit, and he's missed 3 team meetings. And on Friday, he missed one, and that was sort of the final straw. So both parties decided it was best he didn't make the trip to Atlanta. So today you get Dalvin Cook and you get Rico Dowdle expected to carry the load this afternoon. So that's where things stand with the running back room, and that's perfect opportunity because today and the player profile is going to be Dalvin Cook. So here is the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold with Dalvin.
Dalvin Cook, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
First of all, welcome to the team. And I know you were finally glad to be activated and do some things the last week. How do you feel out there with this backfield situation?
I feel good. I feel like we got a special room. We just got to put it on display. For us, it's just get more opportunities to do it. And, I think these next few weeks going to be big for us to get going and, show the world what we really got in the backfield.
Atlanta. What kind of a defense do they have? You guys got to try to get some things done to get back on the track again.
Yeah, just looking at them overall, I think they got a bunch of playmakers. They had a good offseason this offseason, adding a bunch of veteran presence. So, I think they're going to fly around, try to make some plays, but we just got to be better with the football and take care of what we need to take care of.
Also, you got to be more versatile, I guess. When I say more versatile, you actually caught a pass. You do some more things. Can you talk about how they can weaponize you the way you have been in the past with the Vikings and the Jets?
Yeah, I'm a ball player, man. I play ball, man. So, whatever I'm really asked upon to do, I think my skill set is fit to do it. So, whatever they call upon me to do, I think my skill set put me in a good place to go compete.
It's just the opportunities.
That's all, man. We got to get more opportunities as a whole, and I think we'll be fine, man.
Also, run game can tie up the clock. It helps the defense.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think we got to stop playing from behind.
Start fast.
Yeah, we've been kind of chasing. That's been kind of forcing us to throw the ball and not get as many opportunities as running backs. So, we can't be frustrated. We just got to start fast as a unit.
Mike Zimmer is one of your biggest advocates. He absolutely loves you. How does it feel to be reunited with him down here since he was your coach in Minnesota?
It's special, man, to always reunite back with the coach that drafted you. So, like I always say, I'm forever grateful for Coach Zim and the Vikings organization for drafting me and to be back with him and to be seeing him every day. It's kind of cool, man.
Meanwhile, across the field, you got Kirk Cousins, who you played with forever. How's it going to feel playing against him for the first time ever?
It's gonna be cool, man. Everybody gonna know, like, me and Kirk got a great relationship, and just to be on the opposite side is gonna be kind of different.
Yeah,
that's been my guy for a minute, and
I think the world found out how cool he was when they saw that documentary.
Kurt is like one of the people. He's like a hidden gem, man. To be honest, great communicator, great person overall. Man of Christ. So, man, I appreciate everything. Me and Kurt done been through. Man.
And finally, what do you do to prepare for the game, like the morning of the game? Game's gonna be a little bit later this afternoon. What do you do to prepare? What's your special little thing you do?
For me, it's kind of get up and kind of like talk to my brothers. To be honest, I get up, I call my brothers on group FaceTime, and we'll just kind of like mess around and
relax.
Yeah, man. I've been doing it for a while, so I just kind of like just calm myself and I listen to some music or I just kind of relax, man. I'm more of a calm person. Like, I don't really need too much to get me going, so I just kind of relax and talk to my brother.
All right, well, good luck this afternoon.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, CA, and thank you, Dalvin Cook. Of course, Dalvin made his Cowboys debut last week in San Francisco. 6 carries, 12 yards, 1 catch for 10 yards. Did you see anything that makes you feel like, hey, let's give him some more chances here?
Yeah, his ability to catch the football and kind of make something happen in space, I think is something. I think, if you start to talk about some of that outside zone stuff, getting the ball to the edge, a little bit more power, you get him around the corner. He's always been one of those guys that is pretty good at doing that. He can run with some toughness. He just hadn't had enough opportunity. Unfortunately, the Dak interception, the first one that went down, was down the field there on the left side there that he had was Dalvin could have made what I called a hero block. He could have he was looking inside if he here's Bosa beat Steele to the inside and Dak really can't step up and make a throw. If Dalvin was just maybe a little bit more aware, maybe some time on task, maybe some time in the offense, he could have kind of understood that, hey, you got to watch Steele. If you're in pass protection, keep your eye on that right side over there because sometimes you'll get some inside pressure. That's just not playing a lot. And he could have made a hero block there, and that would have got the ball, down the field a little bit better there. But, unfortunately, they just didn't happen. He didn't make the block, and then Bosa was able to affect the play.
Well, the good news for the Cowboys today is there is no Bosa on the other side of the field. This pass rush for the Falcons, it's
been a problem.
Raheem Morris, their head coach, was quoted as saying, "We cannot rush the passer." That was a sentence that he said to the media this week. And he's right, because the Falcons are last in the NFL when it comes to sacks. They have 6 of them. That puts them on pace to finish the season with 13, and that would be tied for the second fewest by any team since at least the 2000 season.
Yeah.
So they are a truly awful pass rush. Do they like to blitz? I know Jesse Bates is a stud safety. Yeah. A.J. Terrell is an awesome corner. But outside of that, the Cowboys should have some opportunities today.
Matthew Judon will be. And
Judon's pretty strong.
Matthew Judon, and if you remember last year, he got hurt in a game here, against the Cowboys when he was with New England, and that kind of that ended his season. But yeah, he's facing far, far, far more double team opportunities. People they realize that the others can't hurt them in the pass rush. So what they've done is he's faced far more double teams.
Does he move around, or
he does move around a little bit? That's there. You're going to have to kind of figure out ways to just keep an eye on him. Where's number 15? And so you got to kind of know where he is. I feel like he's the one guy. Grady Jarrett inside though could be a problem. We've seen the Cowboys struggle a little bit with Zach Martin. Him dealing with power, him dealing with some quickness. You don't want this to be the game that all of a sudden they kind of figure out the pass rush. All of a sudden, you're single blocking Matthew Judon, and he's now he's doing things in a way that is affecting the game. You also need to be aware, like I said, of the Grady Jarrett. Don't let him get one-on-one stuff on you, and then all of a sudden be winning that. So.
If this ends up being a get-right game for the worst pass rush in the NFL with these Falcons, then that's a throw in the towel. We don't have a chance for the rest of the season. Yep. And I really think this is kind of the final straw for the offense. Like, if we can't see the offense really get going today, the Falcons don't stop the run either.
Yep.
Right? So there should be opportunities here. If you can't look competent, if you can't score in the red zone, if you can't convert third downs, if you can't have any semblance of a rushing attack versus this defense, I feel like that's just going to be a throw in the towel. This offense is not going to be able to really get it going this year.
It's really not. And that, like I say, this is an opportunity for you to get right with some of your offensive stuff. And this team plays a lot of off coverage. They're going to give you room. They're going to give you cushion, 5+ yards cushion. You need to find the nickel back here. Their best corner is A.J. Terrell. You mentioned him earlier. He's a guy. Now, there was a time where A.J. Terrell in the old regime was just play on the left side. And he's played against CeeDee Lamb 2 times in his career, but in a situation there where he didn't have to face him all that much in those 2 games. But this guy travels now. You're going to see him play both the left and the right corner. I would say the Cowboys are going to try and find a way to get Lamb inside in the slot on D. Alford. D. Alford is the one cornerback for them, and he's their nickel. He's the one nickelback that has the biggest problems when it comes to coverage. I watched the Kansas City game. Kansas City did a amazing job against him. 10 targets, 10 receptions. That's the kind of things that you need to do. You need to take advantage of a player like that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, of course, everything goes through Lamb as it pertains to this offense and this passing attack. But I'll tell you what, some of the numbers are interesting. Like, somebody else does have to step up because defenses, of course, know this. Defenses there is nobody on the offense outside of Lamb that really threatens and scares a defense. And so in pivotal moments and in high leverage situations, you see the defense completely erase Lamb with the coverage. And it's like daring somebody else to beat you. And nobody's been consistently able to do that. CeeDee Lamb has 20 catches on first down, 19 on second down, 5 on third down for the season. Only 5 third down receptions.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And then we know about the first half and second half stuff. First half, it's like, okay, we're feeling out process. Lamb gets going a little bit, 32 first half catches, and then he only has a total of 13 catches in the second half of games this year. So defenses are knowing, hey, it's third down. Let's take away Lamb, and we'll see if anybody can beat him. Who could be that guy today?
Well, I think if for a team that when you look at how the Falcons play their secondary, and if you look at metrics and numbers and things like that, and you play as much off coverage as they play and as much cushion as they give you, your best receiver in off coverage is Tolbert. Tolbert has 17 receptions for 200 yards. So if you're going to get a situation where Atlanta is going to do what they're going to do, they're going to play a lot of zone, they're going to play a lot of off coverage, they're going to give you cushion, and they're going to play you that way. If that's the case, then that turns into Tolbert, is what it does. Now, sometimes when you're really, really, really bad at something, and Atlanta is a lot like, I think, in Dallas' situation too. You're going to have to maybe go against some of the things that you schematically believe in. If you're an off-coverage team and you're not getting any pressure and you're getting killed by it, you got to walk up and start playing some man coverage. Like I say, Dallas likes to play zone coverage and likes to play off coverage too, but they got no pass rush. So all of a sudden they get killed with crossing routes and in-breaking routes and slant routes. And, they get killed with these inside routes because their safeties haven't played very well and their corners have been struggling. And today, if it's no Diggs, you're going to have guys out there like McQuamu, Butler, Carson. I mean, here's Carson coming off. He's missed a bunch of games.
Yeah.
What's his level of fitness and all that going to be in this game? So to me, sometimes you just have to play out of character and take a chance. And I think both these defenses are going to have to play out of character today. Even though that the Falcons play with cushion and play zone, the one thing the Cowboys have struggled with is tight window throws. They might have to play some more man coverage today and just think, hey, we are better than Lamb and better than Tolbert and better than Turpin and guys out there that are going to run routes.
Do they try and blitz you? Are they trying to create pressure that way?
Well, the one thing that we kind of know about Dak Prescott is when he does face blitz, he does find ways to make plays. Now, they had an opportunity the other day in the game against San Francisco where they ran a blitz and he threw it hot to the flat. If you saw Kurt Warner had a tweet about it this week, breaking it down about, wait a minute, if you could have thrown the inside break and route, you got a touchdown. Instead, you threw it to the flat to Ferguson. His argument was hit on when you want routes that are running away. So if you're facing blitzers, throw routes that are running away from you, not stationary routes. And he made the point that this was a bad read by Dak because he's throwing it to Ferguson, who becomes a stationary target, instead of throwing it inside to Tolbert that would have been a touchdown.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get more Bryan Broaddus analysis of this game. We're under 2.5 hours to kick off, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. Let's take a look around the NFL. The deadline is Tuesday. We have all the rumors. Who's buying, who's selling. That's next right here on The Fan.
Football season is here, but it's still hot, which means pests like ants.
Win right from your pocket. Only available to eligible lottery participants age 18 and up. Please play responsibly.
All right, the Cowboys and the Falcons are 2 of 5 teams total in the league that have trailed at some point in every game this season. It's the Cowboys, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Bears, and the Rams. So another reason for optimism here to some extent. Hopefully the Cowboys can find a way to start the game a little bit quicker. And, of course, that third quarter, that has been a total disaster for them. Coming out of the gates in half number 2 is going to be important. But the Falcons are going to give you some opportunities. I do worry about old Jesse Bates, one of the better safeties in the league, floating around the center field, baiting Dak into there's Ferguson up the seam. It's cover 3, single high. Let's fit it in. Here comes Jesse Bates with the INT. No turnovers today would be a huge double thumbs up there from a Cowboys standpoint. But around the NFL here, before we get to Brad Sham live from Atlanta here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, 2 hours and 17 minutes to kick off. We have the trade deadline coming up here, Broaddus, and this is, do you expect the Cowboys to be overly active at all? Could this be one of those pivotal swing games to determine whether or not, hey, you lose this game, you go sell mode, you win this game, maybe you feel like you have enough optimism to try and make a swing for a player?
Well, if you were to win the game, that would put you at 4-4.
Back to 500, baby.
Back to 500, and I kind of feel like that. Let me ask you this question then. At 4-4 with all the injuries and things and the drama that they've been dealing with, you would feel good about that on most days, right?
Based on how insane everything has been, to wake up tomorrow morning at 500 would be pretty surprising and pretty awesome.
The problem with 4-4 to you is how horrific the home losses have been.
Exactly. It doesn't tell the whole story about how bad. You're not just barely losing these games. You're getting throttled.
Yeah, you beat Atlanta today. 5-3 Atlanta. And division leader. You would feel pretty good about the situation going into Philadelphia. Maybe you keep talking about getting guys back and all that stuff like that. You lose today, and you're 3-5. I don't anticipate them making any moves. I really don't. And you talk about being sellers, like, what are you going to sell? You need all these players because you've got so many injuries and stuff you're dealing with right now. You just go ahead and sell and say, okay, we're punting on the season with 8 games to go, kind of a situation.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
If it was me running things, yes, I would be open to some of that.
I'd be interested to see, what, and I put you guys in the spot the other day on 105.3 The Fan on the G-Bag Nation. I put you guys in the spot about the, what would you sell? What would you, if you were the Cowboys, what would you be interested in selling? I'm not so interested in bag of ball trades. You know what I'm saying? And my bag of ball trades are when, I'll give you a 7 in 2028 for a player. And if I'm going to do something, let me have a pick now, or let me have something in 2025. I'm not, and I'm really more interested in, give me something ask me about one of my players that you can make a significant trade for.
Yeah. And can I get a day 2 pick here?
Yeah. I'm interested. If you're interested in moving, offer me 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. I'm okay. 3rd and 4th round picks, totally into, but you would have to, like I say, these bag of ball trades, what are you doing? We're trading, we're trading something for something in the, a 7th round. I just don't, like I say, I want something of significance now. Yeah. If I could do this, I'm not interested in those trades that mean absolutely nothing, where you're giving somebody, your 53rd player, and it's a what if kind of a deal. If he plays this, that.
Yeah. I would love to, in a perfect world.
If you could tell me
Terrence Steele, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons are the 3 guys that come to mind, but you're selling low on all of them right now.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. The thing with Micah Parsons, if you're really, really interested in, you're seeing without Micah Parsons, what that looks like right now, aren't you? With the way the pass rushes or lack of.
Certainly to some extent. You also have Tank out.
Yeah.
You also have Sam Williams out.
Right.
And Marshawn Nealon, not much of a pass rusher, but another guy you have a multitude of injuries
I
here.
think he's getting better. I thought he was getting better.
Nealon
was getting better as a pass rusher. I think there was going to be a good possibility for him to help you. But yeah, it's unfortunate, the injury. But if you want to swing big at this thing, yeah, start talking about trading Parsons and stuff. If you want to swing big and try and get at least get a first round pick back this in 2025, sure, swing big. You're probably not going to get 2 1s. Probably get a 1, a 2, something like that. But 1 this year, 2 next year, kind of a thing. So that's how I would look at those types of trades. Those are big trades. Those are trades that can make you better. They're not going to make you better now, but if you've already determined that your season's not going anywhere, go ahead and make those trades.
Yeah, June Choi asking on the YouTube right now, why would we ever trade Micah Parsons? Well, I think it's just because the amount of money that you're about to have to hand him.
Yeah.
So would you rather get some high quality draft picks, assets that way, and then disperse the dollars that you would be having to give to Micah Parsons for a bunch of other people? And I think there's certainly a case to be made for that. I don't think the Cowboys have any interest in doing that, but we're just having a good time here as we get ready for the deadline.
They could also be in a situation where they're not interested in paying him $35 million a year. That could be something that they're looking at this and saying, we've got one of the highest paid receivers in the league. We've got the highest paid quarterback currently, and we don't want to put in the highest, one of the highest paid.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are they're not very proactive about trading their own guys.
Yeah.
So it would be it'd be
very off-brand for them to do that.
Right. Yeah. It would be very off-brand. It'd be a huge surprise, but I do think there are cases to be made for it. Now, around the NFL right now, I mean, your opponent, the Falcons, Diana Rossini, says that, of course, they've struggled rushing the passer, and they brought in Matthew Judon. They brought in Justin Simmons, a safety here, to help things defensively, but it's not helping things, and so she expects the Falcons to definitely be exploring some options there to get a pass rusher here before or by Tuesday, the trade deadline. Pass rusher as well needed in Detroit, and they've been talking with the Browns about Zadarius Smith. So he's a veteran, solid pass rusher. They lose Hutchinson, and they lost Davenport already earlier in the season. That's a team who's legitimately competing for a Super Bowl for sure, and I think they're probably the number one team that I would say most needs to make a trade. They absolutely should. They are a championship football team, and they don't have much of a pass rush at all right now.
Well, we'll see today. They're at Green Bay, and this will be an interesting matchup for them. The Packers with 6-2 and the Lions with 6-1, something like that. So
a huge NFC North game in Lambeau. First outdoor game for Jared Goff. Looks like it's a little bit chilly out there. We got some elements.
Stacey Dales, I was just watching her on-field report. It appeared that she the wind was blowing her around pretty good there. You saw the field tarp was being moved around all over the place a little bit. So this one could be very interesting here when it comes to some wind, some cold weather. And then you talk about with Goff, he has a history of not playing well in those types of conditions.
That's right. And that new defensive coordinator from Boston College there in year one as the DC for the Packers.
Hafley.
Yeah, he's dialing some stuff up.
Yeah, sure.
He's trying to confuse you because they don't have like bona fide stud pass rushers either. So they're they're having to confuse quarterbacks and do the way. That's going to be a ton of fun here.
Yeah, we're looking at NFL. ESPN has a live look in, and they've got Diggs on the cord. So the plan was for him. There's Will McClay now, kind of hanging out. The plan was for him to warm up and then work out and then go from there. So let's see how. It looks like that he's, again, he's just on the cords, and it looks like that he's got some mobility to his game, at least the lateral stuff to him as well.
That's good. Yeah, Trayvon Diggs, he's questionable coming in. A true game-time decision, warming up on the field right now in Atlanta. We'll get out there and chat with Brad Sham here in a few minutes, and we'll see what we can do here. Diggs is going to be a huge factor in this one because the Cowboys' cornerback depth right now it's barren.
Yes.
For sure. It's a code red situation, so we'll see if they can get Diggs on the field. Elsewhere around the NFL as it pertains to the trade deadline, the Steelers were actually in the process of trying to get a deal done with the Jags for wide receiver Christian Kirk.
Didn't he just get hurt?
Yes.
He separated his shoulder, right?
Collarbone. Broke his collarbone,
Yeah.
and then that made the deal
null and void.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we'll see. Maybe the Steelers can try and swing elsewhere to try and go get a different receiver. The Panthers are getting multiple calls from teams interested in trading for former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young. And apparently at this time, Carolina is not considering moving him. Now, I like that as a report there. That's what you're letting people know. You're not just going to give this guy away. We don't want to give him away, but we'll take your call, and we're not just going to give him away for nothing here. Yeah. So, but it is interesting. Teams have not seen too much of Bryce Young yet to say that they want to just completely punt on him.
No. There's a lot of teams that had him as their top player on that board. So, yeah, this will be it'll be an interesting time. But with Carolina, we'll see. They've a new coach there. They benched him for a couple of weeks. He's back in the lineup, trying to kind of salvage something, at least out of this year for him.
By the way, it looks like Jordan Love is expected to play today.
That is what is being said right now, yes.
Because he's dealing with a little bit of a groin issue. Didn't finish the game last week. Malik Willis stepped in and was solid, once again, solid enough to get the victory. You did have Lamar Jackson missing 2 days of practice with back and knee soreness, but he is going to play today for the Ravens. That's a big one versus the Broncos. That defense is no joke. For Denver, Sean Payton's got himself quite the defense there.
Yeah, they've done it. Is it Vance Joseph? Defensive coordinator there. They've done a really fine job of, and that's what you got to have if you're going to play with a rookie quarterback and some good skill players. You got to have a really, really good defense to weather the storm, and they've done a nice job.
Yeah, they bring heavy pressure with the blitz and with Pat Surtain and Riley Moss, rookie corner out of Iowa. Yep. He's had some low moments as rookies do, and some definitely poorly timed penalties, but he's been pretty awesome. So when you have two corners like that, it really opens things up defensively for you, what you're able to do. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, he is expected to play as well. He got banged up a little bit in practice this week. That dude's been banged up all season, it feels like. He's a battering ram the way he plays.
He is.
He is a physical monster, but you can't hold up.
Run after catch, though, is really, really nice with him. His ability to play underneath, the crossing routes, the drag routes. He catches the ball. He's got a lot of toughness, and he's always finishing runs.
That's right. Speaking of runs, there will be no Zeke running today. If you missed it, he's a healthy scratch. First of his career. Jane Slater reporting Elliott has been distracted this season. Aside from habitual tardiness, he's missed 3 team meetings, and on Friday he missed one. That was the final straw. So it's going to be Dalvin Cook, Rico Dowdle in the backfield for the Cowboys today, and we'll see how they fare. Just wanted to let you know that the creators of Buffalo Casino Games bring you NFL Casino Games. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat. Proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. All right, we continue counting down to kickoff here. Just over 2 hours. Cowboys noon kick in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We will we'll chat with Greg Olsen, our good buddy from Fox. Looking forward to that. But let's go ahead and welcome Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, coming up next right here on The Fan.
Go behind the scenes at the home of the Dallas Cowboys.
Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Under 2 hours to kick, your Cowboys pregame party continues here with Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, live at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Brad, happy game day, sir. How the heck you doing?
Oh, spiffy. How are you guys?
Oh, I bet you're looking spiffy right now for sure. How's that view from the booth there in Atlanta?
We are at one, I'd say about the 5-yard line. I think we're going to have a monitor that's going to help us, a pre-delay monitor. So it's like a lot of places. You know, we're far away from the end zone at the other end of the field, but it's a pretty clean view.
Hey, Brad, I hate to ask you the more stadium questions. They played a soccer match there last night.
Big one. Yeah, big one.
Huge one. Yeah, Miami and Atlanta United.
Right. And Atlanta United won 2-1.
So we're 1-1 in that series, heading back to Miami, I guess, is where that one's going.
Next weekend, that's correct.
How is the field, like, we still have barriers around for paint and stuff like that?
No, it's interesting since you asked that, and it's such a contrast from AT&T Stadium, Bryan, which I think does it better than anyone, because for folks who don't know, at AT&T Stadium, they have separate fields for everybody that uses it.
Right.
So the field the Cowboys play on rolls up into a big coil, and they've got a big room down in the bowels of the stadium where they store these things. And the Cowboys field is different than the one that the Cotton Bowl will be played on. And that one's different from any other football game. So there's a whole separate one for soccer. And just parenthetically, when the World Cup games come to AT&T Stadium in 26, they're developing special grass fields because the World Cup insisted on playing on grass. So that's what happens at AT&T. Here, I can see the outline of the center circle around the I don't know if you'll be able to see it on television, but there's a big Falcon logo right in the middle of the field. And from 140-yard line to almost the other 40 in a perfect circle, there's the soccer kickoff circle.
Right.
And if you look down, I'm now looking down to see if I can see the 6-yard box or the 12-yard box. I can't really see that very well. So it does not do anything to mess up the view or the look of the field, but you can see it. It's there, and you won't ever see anything like that at AT&T because they use literally different fields for every event.
Yeah, I just wondered about, like, fresh paint and maybe being a little, not dry and slippery and that, that kind of stuff. I always worry about things like that.
Well, it's a great point, but there are guys running through that center logo
Okay, there you
now,
go. Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be a big problem.
Paint's dry. That's good. That's good. Brad Sham with us here on The Fan. All right, how surprised were you when you got the Zeke news yesterday, Brad?
Well, I was surprised that he wasn't traveling.
Right.
At some point, in order for Zeke and Cook and Dowdle, all three, to be active, you were going to give up something on special teams because you could get Dowdle involved in various ways, and you probably don't want to do that because he's probably going to play more snaps than the other guys at running back. But Elliott and Cook are not going to give you anything at all on special teams. So that's a consideration. I don't know. Sometimes Bryan can say I'm wrong. I think that gets and I'm wandering. I'm doing the Trump weave on you right now. But when they decided to when they were looking at which cornerback to elevate, and they did elevate Josh Butler.
Butler, yeah.
And remember, McCarthy said on, I think, Thursday, but it could have been Friday, that Butler and the other cornerback on the practice squad, the guy from North Texas, were really good on special teams.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, that's good. What if you need one at cornerback? Or is special teams now more important than that?
Right.
And that's just the cynic in me. So... But special teams is important, and if you're going to have if you're going to have Zeke and Dalvin Cook and Dowdle all up, then that was going to impact your special teams. So it kind of made sense that at some point somebody was going to have to sit down. I just think with Zeke, you got to handle it the right way, just out of deference to what he's given the franchise over time and who he's been. And I'm just sitting here looking at his game-by-game numbers, and I have not had a conversation with Zeke about this all year. I did have a conversation with him before the season started, and he was not expecting any 20 carries a game or anything like that. If it had been, 10 or 12 touches for him and 10 or 12 touches for somebody else, from his mouth, he said, that'd be great. So instead, if you just look at his carries per game, don't look at the snaps, but look at the carries per game. He got 10 in the first game, and then 6-3, 5-6-8 before he got 10 last week when they didn't have Dowdle. So I think that it's a surprising situation for me, Eric, because it's Zeke and because of kind of the way he has been and the way it was handled. I'm not sure that he feels like he is being used the way he thought he was going to be used. And at the same time, and I have no reason to believe that the online reports that I first saw from Jane Slater today, but it'll be a whole bunch of other people. I do know that he has been late a few times this week, and if he's also missed some meetings, then that is something that is disciplinary, and you can't have that from anyone. The thing that concerned me is the way it first came out. It's disciplinary. Well, did he hit somebody? Did he drop F-bombs on somebody? What did he do? And I don't think that any of that happened. What I think is that this has been building. He's been growing increasingly frustrated as he has been used less and less and differently than he thought he was going to be, whether he was right or wrong. And so I think that, now I don't know what else is going on in his life. She said in her tweet that he's been distracted. I don't know about that. I have asked a couple of guys over the last few weeks how's he looked in practice, and the answer that I've gotten is he looks fine in practice. So it was probably, the way the season's going,
yes,
it was probably inevitable that they were going to have something unpleasant happen at some point. And I think it was avoidable on both sides, based on what I know and on my knowledge of the people involved. I don't think it had to come to this, but here it is.
Keeman Hall, Brad, that's the guy that you and I were trying to figure out, the other practice squad.
That's it. That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Any advantage to Mike Zimmer today, knowing this quarterback after being with him?
Yeah, they were together 4 years, and as Zim said on Monday, yeah, but don't forget he knows me too.
Yeah.
And I think that you could tell me, my guess would be, if you have a coordinator who knows a quarterback and a quarterback who knows a coordinator, if either of them is going to have an advantage based just on the knowledge, it would be the quarterback. Because, Zimmer can know all he wants to know about, if I do this, then he's going to react that way. But his players have to do it. And if anybody has watched Atlanta play, and you and I have both watched their tape, then I don't know who's going to cover number 1, and I don't know who's going to cover number 8. It better not be the guys who were trying to cover Kittle last week, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
And so basically what's happening, I think, is the Cowboys don't have enough good, healthy players on defense.
Yes.
And the ones who they have are not all playing very well. And so that's a lethal combination. I think the one thing that they have possibly going for them is that it's going to all be on the offense, because the Falcons' defense is nothing to write home about either. Their safeties are really good.
Yeah.
But they're down a linebacker, and Raheem Morris, their head coach, really tickled me the other day. Somebody tried to ask him a question at one of his press conferences, and they tried to put it gently about the ineffective pass rush, and they tried to kind of be nice. And Morris said, "Hey, you don't have to be nice about it. We can't rush the passer."
Yes.
And neither can Dallas.
Yep.
And so here's where Brian Zimmer could come into play. If he's able to concoct a blitz scheme, given Atlanta's personnel and his own, that can rattle Cousins a little bit, then you could possibly have something good happen that way. But I think the key to the game lies on what the offenses do.
Brad, you're the best. We appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the game.
Okay, boys, have a great
listening.
day.
All right,
Thanks.
You too. There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, right here on the official pregame show of America's team. We'll go back out to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and welcome in the former 3-time Pro Bowl tight end and color analyst for Fox. He's Greg Olsen, and he joins us next right here on The Fan.
It's big. It's good.
or the community they build, Bell Nunley is behind every great company. Go to bellnunley.com to learn more.
An hour and 45 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Falcons. Let's head to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta and welcome in our good buddy and color analyst for Fox, Greg Olsen, 3-time Pro Bowl tight end, and he'll be on the call today alongside Adam Amin. And Greg, we appreciate the time, man. It's great to hear from you. How the heck are you?
Yeah, doing good. I can't believe it took till week 9 for me to get one of your games. I felt like last year I called the entire season.
Yes. You were one of the TV voices of the Cowboys last year. That's how we referred to you.
We miss you, Greg. We really do.
We've missed you.
I appreciate it.
In a big way. We just got the news. It looks like Trayvon Diggs is going to be active for the Cowboys today. How big of a help is that for the Cowboys defense?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Of course, I think such a big element of the way they've been built over the years has been those splash defensive plays in between Diggs and Bland and Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. You look at the guys that have created all those big splash negatives, and thankfully it's not 0 for 4 as far as guys, suiting up in this matchup. We just saw Diggs. We're down on the field right now and actually just got a chance to talk to him, and seemed like he was moving around pretty good. He felt pretty confident that it was going to hold up and he was going to be fine. So I know in a year where it feels like the Cowboys haven't gotten much luck here in the injury department, it looks like today they catch a break.
Hey, Greg, I know you're really so much involved with your whole broadcast stuff, but, with your tight ends and stuff that you look at, I was curious because Pitts looks like a different player watching Atlanta tape, and Ferguson, is kind of maybe struggling a little bit. Does just your quarterback play make so much a difference for these tight ends in the league today?
Yeah, of course. Quarterback play drives everything. It drives the performance of all the skill players around them, and a lot of times it makes offensive linemen look better or worse depending on the style of quarterback and how good they are at getting the ball out of their hand and handling pressure and not turning it into sacks, and then ultimately just the entire flow of the offense. So, listen, there's no mistaking that the quarterback in this league is the most vital position. It drives the entire boat. But I think particularly for these two guys, I don't necessarily – yes, the offense, to start with Pitts, yes, this offense is better suited for his skill set. I think the Arthur Smith, where he was, styled the last couple years, where he's almost playing Z receiver and he's out of the box because they're in big, heavy personnel groups and they're running the ball so much. That was never really his strength. And frankly, when you put him out at Z receiver, his physical matchup that made him so unique and the 4th overall pick, it's not quite the same when you compare him to other wide receivers as opposed to physically what he can do compared to other tight ends. And then I actually think today's a really good matchup for Ferguson. I think all this zone coverage of Atlanta, a lot of too high safeties, they've played more off coverage snaps. I don't know if that'll necessarily continue today. You got to imagine they want to get up and challenge the receivers in Dallas and the skill players. So there's a lot of space out there in too high zone. There's a lot of space in zone to begin with, and Dak needs to find confidence in another guy other than CD. I think right now so much of the offense is on the backs of Dak and CD, and they're pressing. They're feeling it. The run game's non-existent. They're in passing downs almost the entire game as a result. The play action's pretty non-existent, and you're putting a ton of stress on your quarterback and you're putting a ton of stress on your offensive line to be in drop-back pass. So easy completions, quick game, underneath, yards after catch. I think today could be a really good matchup for Jake Ferguson.
It's Greg Olsen with us here on The Fan. Greg, as you look at this Cowboys offense and all of its struggles, does it seem to be more personnel stuff? Does it seem to be more coaching scheme, concept, design? Like, what jumps out to you there?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and I don't necessarily think when we evaluate any offense, but in this case, the Cowboys offense, I don't think you can look at it in a vacuum where you don't take into account the style of play of the defense. If you look at what Dallas's formula for winning over the last 3 years, 12 wins, 36 over the last 3, their formula was very clear. They didn't have the weight of the world on every offensive possession because they knew at any moment they were going to get a splash play. They were going to get a takeaway. They were going to get a pick six. Bland or Diggs or Micah Parsons was going to get a strip sack. So they didn't have to force every single possession. And as a result, they're in a lot more comfortable, less stressful down and distances. Dak doesn't feel like he needs to force balls down the field and put the ball in harm's way like he's done at times this year. Take what the offense takes, what the defense gives them. It all just plays into like the psychology of the flow of the game. And now here you are this year, the defense is struggling. They can't get off the field. They're giving up explosive plays. run and pass, and then every time Dak gets the ball, he's saying, if I don't score here, chances are when I get the ball back, we're going to be losing. So it just plays into the entire breakdown of what's going on today. The defense needs to get stops. They need to get the ball separated from Atlanta, and then Dak needs to just understand he might not score on every possession, and that's okay. They're winning games that aren't 30-point shootouts anymore, and both the offense and defense in Dallas need to adjust because they're not playing by the same set of rules they have over the last couple years, and they've got to make some adjustments to play by the current set of rules based on personnel, game flow, injuries, and all of those things.
Hey, Greg, which defense then, because you talked about when you watch Atlanta, all the off coverage, the cushion, they don't get any pass rush. Dallas is struggling with that too, banged up in the secondary. Which defense has to play out of character today? Do you anticipate them sticking with where they are at right now or what they've been using, or is somebody going to have to play out of character today?
I think the biggest improvement needs to be in Dallas's defense. I think, you look at pretty much all the major categories, and they're towards the bottom of the league. And when you're not generating takeaways, sometimes you can get away with not being good. For instance, last week we had the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game, and Tampa Bay went 3 for 3 in the red zone and converted, I think, like 60-something% on third down, but Atlanta took the ball away 3 times. So you can kind of mask some of those issues, and that's really what Dallas has done over the years. They've never been a particularly strong run defending group, but it hasn't really mattered. They forced takeaways, they were excellent rushing the passer, and they played almost the entire game most weeks with the lead in passing situations. So I think in these neutral downs, close games, normal down at distances, the Dallas Cowboys defense, make no mistake about it, they have to be better. We understand they're missing a lot of players. They're missing some of their stars. That's just the nature of the league. They have to find a style of play defensively to be able to get off the field, get the ball back to Dak, and not make Dak and the offense feel like they have to carry the entire team on every single play. Because frankly, at this level, it's going to break down, and we've seen that now through 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's Greg Olsen with us here on The Fan. Did you get a chance to catch up with Dak McCarthy leading up to this one? Anything interesting chatting with those fellas?
We did, and I think when you talk to them, you still see the same confidence in their eyes that they had last year when it seemed like they won every single week, and it felt like every week we were talking, we were saying, hey, what went so well last week when you scored 30? What went so well last week, Dak, when you threw for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards? So they had that same look in their eye, which doesn't shock me. I think Dak and Mike McCarthy, their success in this league, they're very confident in what they do. They have a lot of faith in what they do. But I also think they're very realistic on the situation. They need to be better. The combination of the scheme and the quarterback play has to improve. He has to stop putting the ball in harm's way. But make no mistake about it, Dak Prescott is a big-time quarterback. I've been on the Dak train here for a couple years, because when you really dive into what he does pre-snap, post-snap, the amount of this offense that he shoulders, frankly, it's just a difficult style of play, and he's played as well as anybody over the last couple years. And here he is at the halfway mark, has to play better, and a lot of that just has to be stop thinking every single snap is the game on the line. And I think just taking a deep breath, don't force the ball, I think should help him, especially in a lot of those turnovers, especially having 5 giveaways in the red zone alone through 8 weeks. That's a big number.
Do you think he should run more, Greg, or do you think that's just not a part of it? He just doesn't have it anymore. He had the injury a few years ago, because it seems like he's got no interest in scrambling.
Yeah, listen, I think scrambling on third down is a great weapon for all offenses in the NFL, right? A team does a nice job, covering you. You got nowhere to go with the ball, and then the last resort to extend the drive is the quarterback's ability with his feet to pick up first down, scramble, break, contain, either turn into a runner to convert with his legs, or just extend the play, allow all of his offensive players to go second reaction, scramble, drill, and break away and separate past the stick. So I think you can't force it, right? So I think that's the biggest theme with everything with Dak is let the game flow take care of itself. You can't predict how many times you're going to throw it, what style you're going to throw it. Every game dictates a different approach. I think Dak has to take what's there, and whether that's sometimes break and contain in the pocket to remain a passer, whether that's stepping up through the pocket on third and medium and diving and picking up a first down to extend, whatever it takes to stay on the field. And then when they get in the red zone, they got to score touchdowns. The red zone offense is probably the biggest issue facing them. Everyone wants to talk about the run game, and the run game's never been the reason why they've scored 30 a game. Last year, the run game was okay.
Yeah.
It's red zone, finish drives, explosive plays, and if some of those have to come with Dak extending the play, then he's got to take what situations arise.
Greg, you're the man. We appreciate the time as always and look forward to the next opportunity to catch up with you. Enjoy the game. We'll be watching.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Greg Olsen, our guy from Fox. He'll be on the call today for the first time.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean,
underrated.
The way he describes the game, you always learn something when he's on the broadcast.
He's sharp. He's sharp. And apparently, I didn't get a chance to ask him, but he's coaching a middle school team right now as well. I don't know if it's his son's team, but it's like Luke Kuechly, former Panther. Like they got a star-studded coaching staff right now for a middle school team. I bet they're taking it to some folks. Yeah. But yeah, he'll be on the call for Fox today, and I'm sure we'll get Greg back.
Miami
here
Hurricanes are playing well too.
Hurricanes are playing well, no question. Hopefully the Cowboys play well today. We are just over 90 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Falcons. Let's go behind enemy lines with the Falcons color analyst Dave Archer. He joins us next live from Atlanta, next right here on The Fan.
You don't want to miss the next Dallas Cowboys touchdown.
and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, we're under 90 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Falcons. It's time to go behind enemy lines with former Falcons quarterback, now the color analyst on the Falcons radio network. It's Dave Archer with us here on The Fan. Dave, thanks so much for the time, man. Happy game day. How you doing?
Yeah, great to be with you guys. It's a misty and foggy day here in Atlanta, so I imagine the roof will stay closed, but I think it'll get pretty hot under this roof when these two offenses hit the field.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's maybe the highest over/under for the entire football weekend here in the NFL. Vegas is expecting a lot of points. I guess you're feeling the same way.
Yeah, I think that this team here in Atlanta has started to come around a little bit. It took a little bit for Zach Robinson to blend with Kirk Cousins, and then Cousins to blend with new receivers, guys he wasn't familiar with, whether they'd been here before, like Kyle Pitts or Drake London, or the Darnell Mooneys and Ray McLeods that have come in to add to the mix here. And then you mix in the two good running backs. And so from a weapons standpoint, this team is starting to come together, and I think their offensive coordinator is starting to blend his ideas with them.
Dave, a lot is being made about, and even Raheem Morris was talking about, hey, we just can't rush the passer right now. Is there any fix, or is it? Or and I asked Greg Olsen this question earlier. Are these defenses, and maybe Atlanta in your case, having to play out of character today? Maybe not do some of the things. The zone coverage stuff, the heavy stuff that they do, the cushions that they give. Is there something different that you maybe think they'll have to do today?
They've won 5 of their 8 games, and I just don't see them shifting gears and changing philosophy. They've done a really pretty good job in the red zone. So it has been that classic old adage, bend, and then try not to break in the end. And that's kind of worked for them. And it's a team that has the ability. They've had the ability to turn the team over a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So when you're not rushing the passer very well, you better get guys doing things like Jesse Bates does in the back end to get the ball out. But there's no question that this is. You look at it from a team concept. I try to compare them a little bit, and this is a bad comparison probably. But our 16 team that went to the Super Bowl was offensive loaded. And it's similar to what this team is kind of ebbing to. Now, that team scored more points than this team does, but that they played from in front, and we haven't quite gotten to that point yet. If this team can play from in front, I do think there's some guys that can get to the passer. Matthew Judon, Arnold Ebiketie, some guys like that. But they haven't been able to secure themselves a lead of any kind to force teams to become one-dimensional, and subsequently they're not sure whether they should be pass rushing, playing coverage, hugging the line of scrimmage, what they should do. And so they just kind of been trying to keep teams at arm length to a certain extent and let Kirk Cousins go win the game for you.
Behind enemy lines with Falcons color analyst Dave Archer here on The Fan. That pass rush, is that something you expect them to be active here with the deadline on Tuesday? Might you see the Falcons make a trade there?
Well, there's been a lot of conversation. As you guys know, nobody has been trying to find edge rush help more than you guys have with some of the things that have gone on with Dallas. So those guys just aren't walking the streets, guys. You know that. And so do you give up maybe some of your draft capital to go get a guy? There's been some conversations about Myles Garrett and some of the high-end guys that potentially might be available. I don't think Atlanta's going to do that. I think they're going to ride with what they have and try to become more and more proficient on the offensive side and just kind of, like I said, hold people off defensively. But you're right, Dak Prescott, this should be a perfect game for Dak. It has been. We've faced a lot of veteran quarterbacks this year that have worn Atlanta out underneath in these underneath throws and let guys catch and run with the football. You guys are built to do that, so Atlanta could be in a little bit of trouble today when it comes to that scenario.
Hey, Dave, I want to ask you this question because we all talk about Dak Prescott and him not running with the ball. And when you played, you were a bad man running with the football. You really were. And
I was running out of survival.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, whatever you were doing it right. And I'm just curious about quarterbacks and running. Is it something, like you said, you're tongue-in-cheek a little bit with the survival mode, but is it something you have to think about going into the play, or is it just something you naturally react to?
Well, I think that once the ball's snapped, it's a natural reaction to it. Now, you have to have a mindset going into the game that, okay, based on what I'm seeing and how teams are playing, this is a team I can be aggressive with.
Sure.
If there's a team that plays a lot of man coverage and they're not accounting for me and I get out of the rush, then I got to make them pay for that kind of stuff. I need to be able to go get first downs. I need to be able to extend drives. So it's certainly in your mind from a concept standpoint or a plan standpoint going in. But once the ball snapped, then your abilities take over. And if you get flushed out of the pocket, go get that yardage. I've seen Dak pull it down and take off, and he's been good. And obviously he's had some injuries throughout his career. But there's been some moments, and you guys that's probably what you're alluding to, is he decided to take a shot up the field with the ball as opposed to go get me that 15 yards and let's reload and get the chains moved and let's stay on the field on offense. And those are those decisions that leave you scratching your head sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, these are two of the most stationary quarterbacks in the league right now today, squaring
Man,
off
I would not put Dak in the same category as Kirk Cousins. I don't know if you guys are doing that, but Kirk is not going anywhere.
Kirk is definitely a true statue, but Dak wants nothing to do with running the ball at this point, and it's a bummer because he's just not the same quarterback he was probably pre-injury when that was a huge plus to his skill set. But one skill set that we know well around these parts is Bijan Robinson. Dave, I mean, just how special is this dude? And do you expect Atlanta's game plan with the Cowboy defense and how they've been unable to stop the run? This should be a huge Bijan and Algier day.
Yeah, you're going to you'll get a steady dose of both those guys. I mean, Bijan Robinson, as you said, is a special dude. Obviously comparisons with his ability to make people miss in short areas and then acceleration. You start getting some comparisons of some of the greatest that have ever played the game, and he certainly has those abilities. Got a long way to go to live up to that expectation, but man, the first couple of years he's been in the league, he's done some dynamic stuff with the football. He can make some guys look really bad at times. And so as he becomes more of a steady runner, he was used a lot as a receiver last year and kind of mixed in the running game. He's been a little bit more of a steady runner this year, and obviously they're throwing him the football as well. But he and Algier are a tremendous combination. As I've termed Algier as that bowling ball or razor blades that comes in off the bench, and he just mows through people with a power, and he's got a top-end gear that a lot of people they take for granted that he's a power back, he can't run. He gets to the edge, he can turn it down the sidelines and make plays. So they're a little bit more similar than they are, not alike, when it comes to their abilities. But they're part of the backbone of this team. Probably if you're going to lean on a couple of guys, those are two guys they'll lean on.
Hey, Dave, I was curious about the two, though. I'm not a huge metrics guy, but I look at this stuff. But it looks like to me that teams that have played stacked box against these two guys have kind of kept them under 3 yards a carry. Anything to that, or is it just a small sample size? Where has that been kind of something that defenses have tried to do and had some success with?
Yeah, I think the teams have had some success with it. And if you go back to the Todd Bowles defense, which we saw Tampa twice over about a 21-day period, they were trying to crowd the line of scrimmage. That's what Todd does. Right. He brings a lot of guys up and tries to flush the gaps and tries to take away blocking schemes and things like that. Atlanta decided to throw the ball against them.
Sure.
Kirk threw for over 800 yards in those two games, and I think that's a little bit of what you're doing here with this team is if they are on, and Atlanta's been off. 2 weeks ago we played Seattle here, and it didn't even look like the same team.
Right.
But if they're on, then Dallas is going to have to pick their poison. If you're going to come up and stop the run, you're going to have a problem with the 4 or 5 guys that can go make plays in the passing game.
Right.
And both those running backs, and you guys are probably seeing on tape, both those guys are accomplished guys that'll step up and block in protection. They're picking up linebackers. They're doing a heck of a job of providing Kirk that extra second to get the ball out against some man coverage or against those zone pressures where there's holes in the back end. So they're multifaceted players, but you're right. When they've crowded the box, Atlanta's kind of been reluctant to even run it. They've kind of gotten away from it and thrown the football.
Behind enemy lines with Falcons color analyst Dave Archer here on The Fan. How's the Michael Penix dynamic going to this point? And at what point do you see this playing out? Kirk's the starter for the next couple of years, and then it'll be Penix's time?
Yeah, that's the plan. Obviously injuries and things of that nature change your dynamic, or if you end up not winning games, obviously it's going to push the young guy to the forefront. But Mike's doing a great job of watching Kirk. I don't know if you could have a better guy to teach you the intricacies of getting ready from Monday to Saturday to get ready for a game. I think Michael's skill set is off the charts when it comes to arm strength, his ability to move in the pocket, all those kind of things when you get him on game day. But it's that preparation thing as a young quarterback that you need to learn how to do. And I think that Kirk is as good as there is. He's a cerebral guy that talks and thinks about all sorts of things that I think most quarterbacks aren't considering. And it's been a blessing, I think, to Penix. But he's chomping at the bit to play, guys. I see him at practice all the time and talk to him. And so he obviously played a lot of football the last 2 years in Washington. He's ready to go.
Dave, you mentioned there about the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and not opening the roof today due to weather concerns or whatever, but is that something they often do, open up the roof there? Because here at AT&T, it's almost never.
It's kind of a gripe I've got, guys, so I'll air with you guys a little bit. This was supposed to be an open-air stadium that they could close if they had bad weather, right? Well, more often than not, the roof is closed, and you almost get the feeling, okay, it's a dome stadium that you can open the roof if it's a nice day, but it seems like there's a criteria of how when you open it because of the heat in the building, the sun, where the sun's coming in, and those kind of things that prevents them from opening it more than they probably should. I think they should have it open a lot more. But
yeah.
That's kind of where I am on it. It's probably maybe similar to what you guys are feeling in Dallas.
Yeah, we gripe about it from time to time.
And the owner hates it when we gripe about it, by the way. He doesn't like it when we talk about that.
I've heard that he doesn't take criticism very well. So
not very well.
Not lately, at least. Not lately.
Not lately, yeah. Not lately.
Well, at least you guys don't have the sun beaming into your players' eyeballs in important moments during afternoon games, Dave. So that's good.
All I know is I used to play in the old Cowboys Stadium, and they had it set up perfectly where the sun came through that roof.
Yeah.
And was on the visitor sideline. I think we played there, beat Dallas in Dallas. The first time Atlanta had ever beaten the Cowboys in Dallas was in 1986, and it was 120 on the sideline where we were. We were huddled down in one end zone trying to get in the shade. So you guys know how to play it out there in Big D.
That's right. Well, Dave, we appreciate the time, man, and we can't thank you enough, and we hope you enjoy the game.
Great talking to you guys. Yeah, take care.
Yes, sir. There he goes behind enemy lines with color analyst for the Falcons Radio Network, Dave Archer. And I know Broaddus was very familiar with his quarterbacking skills. He was a scrambler.
He was.
Mobile quarterback in his day.
It's funny. And I was Dave Archer and I were roommates. But I didn't want to bring it up. When he was, I
hate that you told me this now and not at least 5 minutes ago.
No, we were roommates for our recruiting trip at LSU. And I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't want to I don't remember you, bro.
Did you embarrass yourself that weekend?
Well, no, I was. I was like, Dave was he was a junior college quarterback. So he was at Snow Junior College in 1981.
Perennial powerhouse.
And he was visiting schools, and he and I stayed together like we were roommates on our. And I can say if I said something, he'd probably, bro, I don't remember you.
I'm sure he would remember your sleep app machine.
Yeah, no, I didn't come in. I came in the wee hours of the morning. Dave took it a lot more serious, the recruiting trip, than I did. But
he was a serious player. That guy had NFL aspirations.
Oh no, he
met them.
No, he met them, and he was. But back in the day, my man can run. I mean, he was a running quarterback.
I believe it. Yeah. Hopefully Dak decides to run a little bit today. I think that could be huge.
Yeah.
We will get the scoop from Cowboy sideline reporter Christy Scales here in just a moment. We did get word a little bit ago that Trayvon Diggs is active.
He is active, yeah.
And he will be starting at the cornerback spot there for the Cowboys today. So that's huge. He was a real game time decision dealing with that calf issue, and the Cowboys just have so many injuries at the cornerback position right now. Still no Deron Bland, of course. He hasn't played all season. You do get Kalen Carson back today, so the rookie makes his return. Jordan Lewis, of course, in the nickel spot has been
dynamite.
Maybe your best player, certainly defensively, maybe on the entire team, the most consistent player
challenge
this
today
season.
For that,
big challenge defensively for sure. As long as Zimmer doesn't run out Donovan Wilson to go toe-to-toe with Kyle Pitts, the Falcons tight end, I'll feel pretty good. I think that's a McQuamu spot. You've talked about a couple of things here. You mentioned Overshone being a guy that you'd like to see try and maybe used more as a blitzer or a rusher today to try and get after Kirk. So all that stuff we'll continue to chat about, Broaddus. But right now we go back live to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's time to get the scoop from Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. Christy, happy game day. How the heck are you?
Happy game day, yeah. Boy, there's always something. You can't just have a normal Cowboys weekend, can you?
No, you can't. It's in the bylaws. It's in the bylaws, Chris. You know that better than anybody. Now, we got good news on Trayvon Diggs, huh?
Yes, and I tell you, it was a very extended warm-up process for him, and out early with Britt Brown, the Cowboys athletic trainer, who's the director of rehab, and so working on the resistance cords and going through an extended workout. Al Harris, the defensive backs coach and assistant head coach, was out here the whole time watching Trayvon, as was Cannon Matthews, another assistant coach with the defensive backfield. But Trayvon looked to be moving well. He was doing all of his cutting, all the lateral movements and the like, and so he is back in the locker room right now. All we have out here right now are the specialists. So Young Wei Koo, the Falcons kicker, and Brandon Aubrey, they're going through their reps with the other specialists. But when Trayvon comes back out, he'll be ready to go. And then one thing, having him available, that means that Andrew Booth, the backup cornerback, is going to be inactive today. But they are, with the elevation of Josh Butler, he'll be making his Cowboys debut today. So he'll be backing up Trayvon Diggs and Kalen Carson and Jordan Lewis. And the thing about Josh is he can also help on special teams. So that's the situation at cornerback. I think we'll also see quite a bit of Israel Mukwamu today, because I'm interested to see how they match up with a big guy like Kyle Pitts. I think that's going to be fun to see the chess match that Mike Zimmer's playing in regard to that particular matchup today.
Christy, I like what you're going with that Mukwamu matchup there. Can I ask you, and I hope I don't put you on the spot, any thought about any changes at safety? Or are they anybody talking about more involvement?
No, I'm not getting any hints at that, and I will have a better idea when they come out and they go through their warm-ups, and when we see the little bit of team where they line up in their, in their defense, if Wanye or Marquise are back there. But I'm not getting any hints of any changes so far.
What'd you make of all the Zeke stuff, Christy?
Yeah, I just, hate it for Zeke, and most of us were surprised, obviously, when, that he wasn't on the plane. But my understanding that this isn't just like one thing that happened. This has kind of been building just a little bit. And so just hate it, because the guy has always had the great reputation as a great teammate, and the guy who, the superstar who his whole career has done the dirty work, right? The blocking and the chipping and playing off the ball, right? Jason Garrett say he's the guy, the best off the ball player, we've seen. And so just hate it for Zeke, but more opportunities for Dalvin Cook today, and it'll be interesting to see how Dalvin and Rico Dowdle, how those carries are shared today, what kind of percentage they get, because in last week's game, obviously, Rico was inactive. He was ill due to fever. Zeke had 45% of the snaps last week, and Dalvin had 27%. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe Rico gets around 40-45% this week, as Zeke did last week, or maybe if Cook gets a little bit more. And then Lipke, I'm really interested to see how much more. He's been doing so much more with the tight ends, and a guy like Luke Schoonmaker with just 2 offensive snaps last week, because Lipke was doing so much more. And it's interesting how Lipke's been doing his work this season, because he still takes his full amount of meeting time and practice time, but the meetings with the running backs during the week, but then he'll do extra work, do an extra meeting Wednesday evening, and then Saturday morning extra time with the tight ends in their meeting room. So, and then he does his pregame warm-up with the tight ends when they come out early for that part of pregame. So I think we could see some differences this week. I'm really curious to see how they're going to utilize Lipke moving forward.
Heck, he might be the second best tight end on your roster right now, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, when Schoonmaker's only getting a couple snaps, and then Brevin Spann-Ford, he actually got nearly a third of snaps last week, and 20% the week before, 20% in week 5. So you've had Spann-Ford over the last few weeks almost catch up in total snaps with Schoonmaker, and then Lipke just on the field. This is both as a running back and a tight end, kind of interchangeable the way they're using him sometimes. But Lipke has been on the field for 33% of snaps this year, so just below Rico Dowdle.
Hey, Christy, I threw out something about overshown poor man's Micah Parsons rush guy. After what we saw with the blitz last week, any insight? Am I going down?
I am for it.
Yeah,
I agree
okay.
with you.
I
yes,
like it. I like it.
Because and just the way that he closed, the speed, just right on Brock Purdy last week, and it's obvious that the front four by themselves, so depleted at defensive end and at defensive tackle, and they're not generating a pass rush with just 4. They're having to bring 5. So bring Demo, and by the way, Demo is the defensive game captain for today.
There you go.
So maybe a prelude of things to come this afternoon.
Well, Dak kind of referenced this game being a must win. Did you get that kind of sense of urgency this week? Like this is a pretty pivotal swing game.
It really is, and I think if there's a game where the offense can get untracked and actually show something, it's against this Atlanta defense.
Yeah.
Atlanta, they're bad on third down. They're allowing opponents to convert on 49% of third downs. That's terrible, second worst in the league. Awful. If you're Atlanta's defense. They're allowing over 130 rushing yards a game, and the cherry on top with their pass game, the rush is anemic. Just the 6 sacks in 8 games is pitiful. So, and they're also, the one thing they're good at is limiting the yards after the catch. Just 4.2 yards after catch, third best in the league, and top 5 in yards per attempt. So I don't think this will be chunk plays, but the ability to matriculate the ball down the field, this could be the day.
Absolutely, Christy, you're the best. We appreciate the time, and we look forward to catching up with you next hour.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. There she goes, Christy Scales, live from Atlanta. So there she is, giving us the scoop there. Dalvin Cook and Rico Dowdle, Hunter Lipke. She's throwing his name out there for a reason.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get the Trayvon Diggs news. So lots to discuss here with what the game plan is going to be. Dak seemed bullish on what they had in store offensively here. Definitely going to be some opportunities versus this Atlanta defense. So we'll continue to break it down here. Just over 60 minutes to kick off here in the pregame show. Still to come, we'll go into the owner's box and hear from the Jones boys. Plus, we'll get Brad Sham's conversation with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, as well as more analysis from the Super Bowl champion himself, Bryan Broaddus. That's next right here on The Fan.
Whether you're getting ready to purchase a home, setting up a college fund for your kids, or preparing for retirement, you're working hard to live a life you love. And you deserve peace of mind knowing your home, loved ones, and future are protected. At SWBC, we can help you assess your personal situation and create a customized solution to make sure you're prepared for whatever life throws your way. Visit SWBC.com to learn about your mortgage, insurance, and wealth management options today. That's SWBC.com.
It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. It's the Cowboys Special from the Cowboys and Papa John's. Get a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. That's right, Cowboys fans. Get a large one-topping
Make your crypto play today.
Also brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, behind every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, it's a Week 9 football party here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Cowboys in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Cowboys trying to get back to 500. Dak is calling this a must-win. It is certainly a pivotal swing game for the season. Just a few days before the NFL trade deadline, trying to get something going. And the Falcons are going to give you some opportunities today, ladies and gentlemen. 877-881-1053. Eric Chiofalo alongside Bryan Broaddus, the Super Bowl champion, former Cowboys scout. And Broaddus, it's time to break this thing down, man. Brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs active. That's huge for the defense today.
It is, and hopefully, they're gonna need him, but they're gonna need him for this entire game. The Falcons are gonna run a lot of 11 personnel. 18 of their 19 touchdowns this year has been in that personnel group. So they're really big about getting those wide receivers out. They're really big about getting Kyle Pitts involved. His career has taken a tick upward with the addition of Kirk Cousins. You know, Kirk Cousins loves to throw the seams, loves to work those in the middle. Dallas has struggled with it at safety play at time. They haven't defended crossing routes all that well. They haven't been able to, those shallow crossers have been a problem. You know, Atlanta, not their best when it comes to that. They're more of a team that likes to run the hitches, they like to run the outs, and they like to run the slants. But if you see somebody in a situation like Dallas where it turns into they're not very good at something, I think you owe it to yourself to try and attack those areas. So we'll see how much that the Falcons take Mooney and take London and then McLeod and try and run them on those shallow crosses, those in-breaking routes.
And how about that rushing attack there? Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Do you expect Atlanta to just healthy helping of handoffs today?
Yeah, I really, really do. And Dallas, they played pretty well defensively on the edges, especially with what Golston was able to do last week. But they're going to need a lot more they're going to need to find a way to win on inside, some of these inside with their defensive tackles. This defensive tackle room, has held this team hostage this year. It's just not Mozzie Smith. It's just Oso Digizua. They just have not, Linval Joseph, they just have not had very good defensive tackles. And that position is, like I said, I think it's held him hostage on defense.
Yeah, and Atlanta definitely wants to attack the edges of your defense. The outside zone running is what they want to do, so the edges will certainly be tested today in a big way. Kyle Pitts, the tight end you mentioned, cannot have the same plan you had last week versus George Kittle. No. Cannot be Donovan Wilson. It's got to be Wanye Thomas, perhaps Izzy McQuamu, who Christy Scales was telling us might get the draw, and I know that's something that you've been talking about this week as well. That's a guy who matches up physically with the height and the length there with Kyle Pitts. So definitely going to be a tough challenge for the Cowboys defense today, but it is good to have Trayvon Diggs back. Now, no Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys. He stayed back here with the disciplinary stuff. He was inactive. He's been missing meetings. We saw the Jane Slater report today. So plenty to dissect as it pertains to that, but that means it's going to be Rico Dowdle. It's going to be Dalvin Cook, maybe even some Hunter Lipke, but there's going to be some opportunities versus this Falcons defense, huh?
There will be some opportunities. Throwing the football, there's no pass rush, and you just don't need this to be the game where all of a sudden, you don't block Matthew Judon and then he's got 2 sacks. And, this Falcons, Dave Archer was on with us earlier, was talking about it. I mean, he doesn't think that Atlanta is going to come out of character. He doesn't see Atlanta maybe finding some ways to bring blitzes and bring pressures and things like that. He feels like they're kind of who they are. And if that's the case, then now it's about winning against team that plays cushion. And the Falcons are a team that will give you some cushion. That's 5+ yards of cushion off the ball. And, I talked about it with you earlier. Tolbert's the one that's had the most production with teams that have played off coverage. It hasn't been CeeDee Lamb. another problem that Dak Prescott has been dealing with, and maybe this is something that will help him in today's game, is teams that have played man coverage, his percentage has gone, is like, he was a 66% passer against man coverage last year. Now he's right around 46, 47% against man coverage. So if the Falcons are going to play a ton of zone and play with some cushion and all that, Dak's going to have to find a way to wear him out today.
Yeah, you mentioned Tolbert. Greg Olsen, former tight end himself, will be on the call for Fox today. He feels like this is going to be a good opportunity for Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson. Somebody's got to step up. That's on the coaching staff to create opportunities and set guys up for success from a scheme and alignment standpoint. And obviously it's up to the players to step up, because CeeDee Lamb, defenses are taking him away when it matters. Third down, he's only got 5 catches all season long. So, and in big-time moments, who's going to be that player? I think you'll have some opportunities for Ferguson today. That could be huge. But Jesse Bates roaming the center field there as the safety for the Falcons, that's a guy who will I mean, he can pick you off really at any turn. And Dak with the turnovers, that's a guy that scares you a little bit.
Bates was outstanding against the Buccaneers last week, and I think he's forced 3 fumbles this year. He is going to go in there and punch that ball out of your hand if he gets the opportunity. So, the Cowboy ball carriers need to be alert if that number 3 is in the vicinity. He's going to try, and the first thing he's going to do is try and knock that ball out of your hand and then turn you over that way. So, got to be aware of all that.
All right, we're under 60 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Falcons. It's the pregame show here on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. Still to come, we'll go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones, live from Atlanta. But coming up next year, it's time for the Coach's Corner. Voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction.
Beer, 96 calories and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
How about this? The Cowboys, the only remaining team in the league without a running play of 20 or more yards this season. No Zeke today, maybe Rico or Dalvin Cook. Perhaps Hunter Lipke could get the first 20-yard rush of the season. That would be fantastic. Atlanta's going to give you some opportunities. We'll go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones live from Atlanta coming up here in just a few minutes. Just over 45 minutes to kick off. Let's go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for today's Coach's Corner. It's the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Fellas, thanks very much. The Cowboys in Atlanta today, and this is a game, you can't play these games on paper, thank goodness, but this is one that looks like someone's going to have to score a lot of points. Raheem Morris tickled me during the week. They were asking him about his defense, trying to be nice. He said, don't try to be nice. We can't rush the passer. So it looks like both of you have an opportunity for offenses to maybe lead the way in this game. Is that a fair read?
It's a fair read based on the numbers, but I do always look at history, because when I get in conversations like this, it normally goes the other way. That's the beauty of the game of football. So, and that's why we play. That's why they prepare all week, and that's why we prepare all week. But yeah, I think you clearly, when you look at the teams, and just really play to the personnel and how you're trying to, get those guys matched up. But you can start with their offense. This is as balanced as a perimeter group that we'll face all year. It's a good offensive line, especially now that they're healthy. And defensively, the two safeties, particularly Bates, has just really jumped off the video at you. Terrell's having a good year. I just remember when he came out, we did a lot of work on him, so he's really everything we thought he would be. But this is a good defense. Grady is playing, top notch inside there, and yeah, so you just pay attention to that. But no, I agree with you, and that's why I don't want to jinx it. So we just want to go and play to our plan and get it executed. And we're more focused on being on the road, crowd noise, things like that, and being an early game. So we want to get up and get going. This is our second early game of the year.
You've seen a lot of Cousins over the years. He's certainly off to a good start. here. What do you see in him as well as you know?
Well, I just think like anything, you look at the big picture. It's first year, and I think it really leads to what's going on. I know from my past experiences of being in the first year, when he gets into a rhythm, I mean, they're really good. I mean, and the productivity shows that. I mean, they have put up some big numbers. So hopefully they don't get in. We can keep them from getting into a rhythm today. We got to stop the run. The runner is exceptional. So, I think that's important each and every week defensively. Try to make an offense be more one-dimensional. But boy, when he's in a rhythm, the ball's coming out on time. I mean, he's an extremely active passer.
Run the ball and stop the run is one of the most basic things, and it's been something you've been struggling to do a little bit. And everybody's talking about Ezekiel Elliott being inactive because he hasn't been very much in his career. What do you want to say about what led to that?
Yeah, Zeke's situation is really a team discipline situation, and it was a mutual decision for Zeke not to make the trip, and then we'll pick up Monday and just evaluate where we are.
When you say team discipline, you know that people think that he did something to be disciplined for.
Yeah, that's what it means. I mean, there's things that we all have to do in the workplace, and that's what it is. That's as far as I'm going to go with it.
Dak said Thursday he liked the game plan. What can you? Don't tell us what the game plan is, but
it's a game plan of really trying to take advantage of matchups. We're 7 or 8 games into this thing now, so. We pretty much have a higher understanding of what a defense is and what their strengths and how they want to play. So I just think the way we're going to go at these guys, we're all excited about that.
You have been very clear for the last few weeks about your insistence that the turnover differential change. From the standpoint of your offense, what things can you practice? Because you can't tackle. There's some things you can't do. How do you practice to cut that stuff down?
I mean, we have ball security drills that we do every day. You're always, evaluating your decisions and just emphasizing decision making, and we make decisions every time we go to a team period. So it's part of your practice structure. And the turnover ratio, we can't change the first 7 games. So it's just important for us to take it 1 week at a time, and it's important for us to win the turnover battle today against Atlanta.
One more personnel thing. You have a sense about Diggs? Will he be able to go?
Yeah, I had a good day yesterday. So obviously the way he gets up this morning, and then there will be a pre-game workout, and then we'll make that decision at the 90-minute mark.
Appreciate the time, Mike.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, fellas, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brad Sham. Yes, Trayvon Diggs is active and playing today. Of course, they mentioned the Zeke stuff. He gets left home, and he is a healthy scratch for today. Jane Slater tweeting out earlier today. She's done quite a bit of reporting on this. Elliott has been distracted this season, she says. And he's been habitually tardy. He's missed some team meetings, and he missed one on Friday, and apparently that was the final straw. So they've agreed to, hey, you're not going to be active. You're not even coming to the game. Disciplinary. And McCarthy just said there on Monday, I'm sure as the week goes on, we'll learn more and more. But today it'll be about Dalvin Cook. It'll be about Rico Dowdle, and Christy Scales let us know that Hunter Lipke should be a part of this game plan today as well. Now, McCarthy just said there to Brad Broaddus that the matchup today, or the game plan today, that Dak has been super excited about apparently this week, is just about taking advantage of some certain matchups. And of course, that's really that's the game of football. It's all about taking advantage of matchups. But what would be a matchup or two that you think the Cowboys can take advantage of today offensively?
Yeah, all week long I felt like that D Alford, the nickel corner for the Giants, for the Falcons, is a guy that struggles in coverage, and they've had some issues too with the way that they play their scheme. When they play off coverage, when they play zone, Mike Hughes is giving up some plays. AJ Terrell, I think, is a really, really good player. And I don't know how much I would mess with him, but I would find a way to move your receivers around. I'd be interested to see. Terrell will play both sides. I'll be interested to see if he goes into the slot, which I haven't seen. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say to me that that or say to you that the Alford, if he's in the slot number 20, he's the guy that you absolutely need to go after. I watched Kansas City throw 10 targets on him and complete all 10 balls. So there's ways to.
It's pretty good average.
Yeah, and other teams have gone after him as well. But Bates, the safety, you got to be worried about him. We mentioned him about the turnovers and the things that he can create. A lack of pass rush, a team that plays off coverage or gives you cushion. That's why they're struggling a little bit. But they everybody we've talked with the Falcons so far has said the way they make up for this is through turnovers. And
yes.
And Dak has had multiple games where he's thrown 2 interceptions in a game, and that really does have to stop tonight.
All right, it's the pregame show here on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. Under 40 minutes to kick off, and we'll go live to Atlanta, go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones, and we'll get the Zebra Report from Broaddus. All that's next right here on the Dallas Cowboys radio network, and Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Dallas football fans, have you heard Buffalo Wild Wings
official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, Broaddus, we're just over 30 minutes to kick off. I just saw a clip of Jerry Jones standing on the field at Mercedes-Benz chopping it up with Falcons owner Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank have his red vest on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I need to see if he had the red vest on. I was just curious, though, if you felt like Arthur Blank looked more like a guy who has ghosts in his house or if he looked more like a bellhop at a haunted hotel.
Oh, he's definitely got, you would never know. I mean, I know Tim Collins is sitting there in our engineering booth. There was a guy named Vincent Price. He has this Vincent Price kind of vibe to him. So if you look up 1960s like horror movies,
yeah,
Vincent,
he's got that vibe.
He's got that Vincent Price kind of vibe. If you look him up,
I don't see the red vest. I do see an all black pinstripe suit though. Looking good, looking dapper.
He always looks dapper, very dapper,
looking extremely haunted.
For somebody that started Home Depot, he looks very much like he's never worn an orange apron in his life.
No, not sure that he's ever broken a sweat due to work there.
Yeah.
But he's looking sharp. He's chopping it up with Jerry a few minutes ago, and now it's time to go into the owner's box. Here's Christy Scales with Jerry Jones.
Well, here we are in the Cowboys bench area, and Jerry, I wanted to start with some good news, and that is Trayvon Diggs, after going through an extended warm-up, looks like he's going to be able to play today. Any kind of pitch count, or what are we expecting for Trayvon today?
He'll go as all he can go because this is an important game for us, but he's playing through a little strain there in the calf, and when I say a little strain, everybody needs to understand these guys are out here playing with a lot of nicks and bruises, saying it lightly, but glad we need him out here today for sure. And so this quarterback is very accurate. If he gets in a rhythm, Zimmer's very familiar with him. He used to be his quarterback at Minnesota, and so he's a real good quarterback, and we need to thread a Diggs back there. We need him to make one of those interceptions.
Well, when Zimmer was asked about going against Cousins, and he was his head coach, as you say, for so long in Minnesota, Zim pointed out that Cousins knows him very well as well because of going against him in practice and knowing what he likes to do. How do you see that chess match today with your defense?
Well, I think we really have to get after him. We have to have a little pressure. We need to be around his feet a lot, Cousins' feet, and that's important. It bothers any of them, but we need to just get around his feet and pin our ears back and get some plays like that.
The Falcons' defense has been yielding over 130 rushing yards a game. Do you see this as a game where the Cowboys' run game can get untracked?
Well, if you look at the way we've played and the way they played, that sounds logical. And we certainly need to get a real uptick in our running game, and hopefully that offensive line of ours can really step up there and get some line movement. I think they can, and if they'll get some line movement here, then we'll make some runs.
Rico Dowdle is back after missing last week's game due to illness, but why was going with Dalvin Cook and Deuce Vaughn the better option than Zeke Elliott today?
Well, Zeke couldn't make the trip. He was being punished, and so he just couldn't make the trip. Wasn't necessarily a better option. He's a much better option because he's back in Dallas, and these two are here. We need them. I'm trying to put a little humor on this thing, but I know Zeke really was the first one to recognize the discipline involved in meetings and those kind of things. And Zeke is the antithesis of trouble. He's absolutely led the way his entire career on leading our team off the field as well as on the field.
Yeah, I know you also have great personal affection for him as well. So is this tough for you?
Well, you got to love somebody that plays the game as physical as he plays it. You got to love somebody that practices as hard as he practices, and he's inspirational, always has been. I've still got pictures of Zeke running up and down in the dressing room before the game with didn't have his pads on, let's put it like that, but motivating and getting his horse going.
Thank you for giving the PG-13 version of that, Jerry. One last thing I have to ask, because we're just 2 days away from the trade deadline. Has the phone been ringing more than in previous years?
Well, this is can be a real busy time if it fits. Boy, that's a big word. If it fits, and so we're where we are, which we haven't made a trade, but we'll see what happens the first part of the week.
And when you say fits, do you mean financially or you mean personnel-wise?
All of it. One doesn't go without the other. It's impossible.
Great.
And so you got to meld the talent with the financial. Each club's got a certain financial, and you got to get as much talent on the field with it as they can.
We appreciate the visit. Thanks so much. That's the view from the owner's box as we continue counting down to Cowboys-Falcons kickoff. Let's rejoin Bryan and Eric.
Wow, that was quite the view there. Quite the picture that Jerry painted for us. My goodness, the owner's box brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And now we get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And Broaddus, today we hope the enemy is not the refs.
Yeah, Scott Novak's your official day. 8 games so far this year. Home team, 51 calls against the home and 45 against the aways there. And he's not called a Dallas game this year. You got to look for offensive holding, big with this group. Defensive pass interference is another one that you deal with. Illegal shift is one you need to worry about as well with this guy. He's not going to let you move around, maybe attack the line of scrimmage like we've seen some of these officials do it with your motion. Delay of game is something big with these guys as well. They've had 6 of those. Here's another one we always talked about, too many men on the field. We saw that last week. Remember, we brought that up in the pregame.
Yep.
With Bill Vinovich and that crew, too many men on the field. This crew has also had a number of calls that way.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bryan Broaddus. We got 26 minutes to kick off. It's the official pregame show of America's team. Let's go live to Atlanta inside the booth with Babe Laufenberg coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we...
Your Dallas Cowboys.
Reliant, PUCT number 10007.
Here we go, under 20 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Falcons. Let's go live to Atlanta, inside the booth with Babe Laufenberg, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Babe, happy game day, my friend. Is this going to be a good opportunity for Dak, this offense, and really this offensive line to get going versus a Falcons defense that's been struggling?
Yeah, best chance in a while, right? And I laugh, guys, because people always talk about your left tackle. Left tackle, that's the money position. We got to play the guy at left tackle. We got to draft a left tackle. Here's what Terrence Steele has gone up against the last 3 weeks. T.J. Watt, Aiden Hutchinson, and Nick Bosa. 2 of those guys are defensive players of the year. The one's going to be before his career's over. They may all 3 end up in the Hall of Fame. So nobody woke up happier this morning than Terrence Steele at right tackle, knowing I don't have to go against those guys.
Yes, this pass rush has been really just nothing. It's maybe the worst in the entire league. But when it comes to Dak running the football, would you like to see him run a little bit more?
Yeah, and the word I would use is judiciously. It's not something where they're going to read option with him, 10 times a game. But yeah, if it's there, he used to be a guy to make plays with his feet. Obviously, the horrific ankle injury, leg injury he had in 2020 has curtailed a lot of that. But much like we saw Brock Purdy last week against the Dallas defense, Brock Purdy isn't a great runner, but he ended up making 56 yards by the end of the day. So I do think at the end of the day, third down, get man coverage, Dak's got to be able, 3rd and 5, go up and get 7 yards. Doesn't have to go for 70, but he's got to get you the 7 and get you the first down.
Baby, it just seems that the Falcons are so challenged when it comes to pass defense, as you mentioned, with the rush and stuff, and the secondary with the off coverage. And is we always talk about balance, but is the path to victory today getting the passing game going that way and letting these receivers try and run some routes against some off coverage and see if they could do some good?
Yeah, and it's going to be a game where Cowboy fans aren't going to probably like it a lot because the ball's not going to go down the field. Atlanta just wants to keep everything in front of them. They've given up the fewest big plays of any defense in the NFL. They play a lot of two-deep show. We've seen that before. So Dak, it's going to be a game that will dictate patience for Dak of not trying to force the ball down the field. Just take your checkdowns. The old saying is check down, first down, touchdown, and that's what it's got to be for Dak today.
Heck yeah, Babe, you're the man. Thanks for the time. We'll be listening.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg. And now we keep it in Atlanta for Christy Scales. Keys to the Game brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, what do you know about this running back rotation today? It's going to be no Zeke. Of course, you got Rico, you got Dalvin Cook. How do they split it up?
This is going to be Rico's game. Those of us who have been wanting to see a running back have a chance to really get in a groove, they're not going to be necessarily rotating Dalvin Cook in by series or anything like that. It'll be Dalvin Cook in for spot duty, but this is Rico's game at running back.
Christy McQuamu maybe going to play some against Pitts in this one. I know we asked about it earlier.
Yeah, physically, Mukwamu, a taller, leaner guy, going against Kyle Pitts, who already has 3 touchdown catches for the Falcons this year, over 14 yards a carry. So not exclusively, but look for that in the mix. And the other thing we were talking about, and throughout the week, not just early in pregame, was, the safety play of the Cowboys. And gosh, will we see maybe a little bit of Wanye Thomas or some Marquise Bell, some changes? No, I'm told that it's still Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker, and don't look for changes at safety.
All right, very good. And with the Trayvon Diggs stuff, of course, he's active, he's playing. And what did you learn in the warm-ups?
Really extensive warm-up, probably about 45 minutes, and position coach Al Harris just so pleased to see him moving so well. It's the lateral stuff, it's the cutting, things that he wasn't able to do during the week, that calf injury. So pleased by how well he looked in pregame, and hopefully it carries through into the game.
Awesome. Anything else we need to know before kickoff here, Christy?
I think we're all set. Lots of Cowboy fans here today, lots of blue among the red here in Atlanta.
I love it. You're the best. We'll be listening. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, guys.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. Right, lots of Cowboys fans in the building. We do know that the Falcons have not been at their best at home this year, so lots of reasons for optimism in this one, and hopefully the offense can really get going here, Broaddus. I mean, the Vegas has this as like the highest point total of the football weekend. They're expecting a lot of points, expecting the Cowboys offense to finally get going, and that's certainly the hope. I mean, music to my ears to hear that this is going to be a Rico game. She says it's going to be a Rico game. Yeah. Obviously, you'll see some Cook, maybe see some Lipke, but your best rushing performance of the season was in Pittsburgh, and that was a Rico game.
Yeah, and it needs that. They're going to need that kind of defensive effort, though, too. They've been able to. Atlanta's going to try and run the football on you today.
Yes.
And take advantage of some of those things. They're going to test you that way. So, yeah, you always talk about that Pittsburgh game was a very tough, gritty game. Need the same thing on the road today.
Yeah, they showed some character in that Steelers game. Going to need to show some of that here as well. And we've talked about pressuring Kirk Cousins. Hopefully the familiarity Mike Zimmer has with Kirk, because they were together in Minnesota for all those years. Maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve. You mentioned maybe a little bit more overshown getting after the passer today, and how that can help things. Because, I mean, when Cousins is kept clean, he's got the 6th best passer rating, and he's completing over 70% of his passes. He's got 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. You keep him clean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league in the pocket. But then when he's pressured, he drops to 18th in passer rating. He's only completing 60% of his balls, and 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Basically, all of his interceptions happen when he's pressured. I would love to see Mike Zimmer dial something up and get him on the ground today.
I think Mike's got to take some chances today with this pressure. I don't think he could sit there and rush 4 and think that's going to be a good way to get after this guy. They're going to have to, without Tank and without Parsons, they're going to have to create some opportunities.
Yep, and I just don't trust the Cowboys' run defense enough. And Dak and the offense haven't proven to really be consistent over 4 quarters, and they haven't proven that they can take care of the football. I am hopeful, but I am still going to go with Atlanta winning this football game 33-26.
Yeah, I went Atlanta 34, Dallas 28.
All right, there you go. That'll do it for us here in the pregame show. Kickoff around the corner. Brad, Babe, and Christy. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up and Go service makes grocery shopping easy and convenient for anyone.